So this morning, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis' trailer dropped. I love how I didn't know how to pronounce Elvis. Oh my god. So fun fact, my lecturer was one of the editors on this set. Okay, one of the the way the editing works, like the credit for the main editors is in the description of the Elvis trailer. But my lecturer was one of those people who does the dailies, and I was like, that's really cool. So my lecturer was constantly telling me stories about Elvis. And then when I worked on short film sets, a lot of the actresses were like, we worked on Elvis, but we can't tell you. And I'm like, well then why did you say anything? Like, alright. But it was always fun listening to my lecturer's stories from set, because he was talking about the dailies and, you know, watching the footage and having to, you know, do a rough timeline and then send it up further in the editing chain. And I was like, so jealous, because I applied to work on the set of Elvis and I would have loved to been like an editor's shadow or somebody's shadow, just to, you know, I'll buy all the drinks. I don't care, I have no money, I'll buy all the drinks, you know. But unfortunately Screen Queensland never got back to me. But the fact this was filmed on the Gold Coast was even cooler. Filmed up at Village Roadshows, which is right next door to Movie World. No, I never saw any of the actors. I did stay at the Gold Coast when they were filming this for a couple of days, for about a week. And I was told that Tom Hanks was walking around. I never saw Tom Hanks, so that was disappointing. But it's actually really interesting. So I'm going to be really honest, and I'm probably going to get hate for this, but I'm not a Baz Luhrmann fan. I'm really not. Look, I've seen like 99% of his movies. I didn't like any of them. So when I heard that he was doing a Elvis biopic, I was like, I like Elvis, I really do, but I don't like your films. So now I'm really conflicted, because like, this is the king and you're Baz Luhrmann and oh god. But you made up for it by having Tom Hanks. I've seen the photos of Austin Butler. I don't know who he is. I don't think I've seen anything with him in it. But like trying to find the resemblance between young Elvis and Austin, you know, it's kind of hard, because Elvis has kind of a distinct look, and he has the very southern accent that's, you know, very key to his image, and then the way he moves, everything about that. But this is told from the life between Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis Presley, rather than like everything to do with Elvis. They've kind of done it from this point of view, which is very interesting, because everyone paints Colonel Tom as the bad guy. Now obviously I'm too young to know this history, but I actually recently learnt that Colonel Tom, as much as he encouraged Elvis's career, he also stopped it, because technically Colonel Tom wasn't a colonel, and technically he was an immigrant who wasn't legal, which meant that if he did leave, he'd be busted, and then he was doing tax evasion. So it did limit Elvis's career, even though worldwide, you know, we all worship the ground he walks on. And I only learnt that because I'm writing a sci-fi inspired by Elvis, so I'm like, oh, I need to know all this stuff so then I can incorporate it somehow. Instead inspired by, not about. Anyway, so normally I ramble after the trailer, not before the trailer, so soz. Anyway, so this is a 3-minute trailer. I saw the teaser yesterday and it was tagged as TCB, and I felt really dumb, because I was like, what's TCB? I googled it, and it's Taking Care of Business, which is the name of the band that backed Elvis. And if it was called Taking Care of Business, it would have been a whole other story, which is really funny, because I know that Elvis, you know, encouraged President Nixon to give him a federal agency badge, you know, so Elvis could be like, yeah, I can catch bad guys. And I know Elvis apparently had a small obsession with guns, so, you know, it definitely would have been a different type of movie. Yes. Anyway, so let's watch this. I'll make sure my volume's turned up. It is, brightness turned up, and let's see what it is, and then I will tell you what I think of this as we go. Ready?
some would make me out to be the villain of this here story.
Let's don't let a good thing die.
I love Tom Hanks' accent because, like, Colonel Tom has a distinct accent.
Are you born with destiny? Or does it just come knocking at your door?
There's a young singer from Memphis, Tennessee. Give him a warm hayride welcome.
Not the pink suit, but he hated.
Elvis Presley.
Get a haircut, buttercup.
And the pompadour.
In that moment, I watched that skinny boy transform into a superhero.
They have electric katanas back then.
He was my destiny. I wish to promote you, Mr. Presley. Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready to fly.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
Where's the gun up? So much turn to take. I can't move, I can't sing. Some people want to put me in jail as well as moving.
They might put me in jail for walking across the street, but you're a famous white boy.
The way he sings is God-given, so there can't be nothing wrong with it.
Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis.
I love how they put that in because he loved.
But it has nothing to do with us.
It has everything to do with us. Whoever once told me when things are too dangerous to say, sing. I'm gonna be 40 soon, and nobody's gonna remember me. I need to get back to who I really am. And how are you, Oz? I just gotta be making the most of this thing while I can. This can all be over in a flash.
We are the same, you and I. We are two odd, lonely children reaching for eternity. The greatest show on earth.
Elvis has left the building.
I think this is the first time where I've actually been silent after I watched the trailer. I'm curious to see how much archive footage is used in this, because there are some scenes in this where it looks more like the Elvis rather than Austin. You can see that Austin tries to have that southern accent that Elvis has, or had. But Austin doesn't quite fit the idea. I mean, obviously, when you get a biopic about someone who's real, you can never live to the exact same look as that celebrity. But you can see they've tried with Austin. It's just, he needs to, I don't know. I think maybe because of the fact I've been spending too much time Googling Elvis Presley and his backstory, that I've kind of got this idea of who this young kid looks like and who this young kid, you know, eventually turned out to be, that when I look at Austin Butler, I'm like, you've got the hair, the costume department did the clothes, you got the accent, you just don't have everything else. And you can see that they've also done, like, the end of his line as well, like the end of Elvis's years where he became a bigger man, and you can see that pain. You can see they've included a young Lisa Marie Presley, you know, a Priscilla Presley. I am curious though, because I learnt recently that Priscilla and Elvis, there was a huge age difference. She was 14 and he was 20 something. I learnt that, you know, everyone hated them being together because they didn't want him to be the next Jerry Lee Lewis, who famously married his second cousin. And everyone's like, no, this is going to destroy your career. But they still kept the relationship. So once she turned 18, they became official. So it's very interesting. It's also going to be interesting to see if they play into Elvis's acting career, because Elvis, you know, he had movies. Whether he liked them all or not is a different story. And apparently he hated singing in all of them, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because I've seen those movies and I've gone, you know what, it would have been better without the music, but Colonel Tom had his rules. Like 50% of the salary, if there was singing, had to go to Elvis, regardless of who wrote it and regardless of whoever sang it. I learned that Hound Dog, the original writers of Hound Dog, hate Elvis's version because Elvis is singing to a dog rather than to, God, I want to say the woman's name, but I can't remember. I want to say it's Ma or Hattie or someone like that. You know, they loved the woman's version because she was singing about a man. So, you know, I've learned all this interesting stuff. And I find it funny. Tom Hanks, you know, has famously said, I will never play bad guys. But he has said, in the eyes of society, he is the bad guy. Colonel Tom is the bad guy. So he's playing a bad guy. So I love Tom Hanks's accent because, God, I wrote this goddamn down because of Colonel Tom's accent is very particular. I want to say it's not Russian, it's something else. And I wrote this down somewhere and now I can't remember what it was. Now I feel really bad. I know this, I've blanked it. Sus. But you can hear that, you know, Tom Hanks is amazing. And he's going to be incredible in this. It's going to be really interesting. Like, visually, it looks beautiful. The fact that I've heard that they've used a mix of Elvis with Austin's vocals, which is kind of similar to Bohemian Rhapsody, where it was a mix of Freddie's and Rami's. So that's quite interesting to see. Like I said, I want to see how much archive footage is used, because there is footage in here that looks like Elvis Presley rather than Austin himself, which then meant they obviously got permission from the Presley estate, obviously, but like it's just interesting because there is a lot of stuff out there with Elvis. Like, I recently learned that Melbourne has a memorial in one of the Burke and Wills famous cemeteries. Not one of them, but in one of the cemeteries that was famous for Burke and Wills, you know, there's an Elvis memorial, even though Elvis never came to Australia. So, like, learning cool stuff like that, the fact it was filmed in Gold Coast, which means, you know, we've had Elvis walk the Golden Shores. I am curious though, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. Why didn't they use a tribute act? I've seen tribute act perform live. I spent, you know, several days down at the Gold Coast a couple of years ago watching Viva Las Surface Paradise, where they did a whole Elvis fortnight, and the tribute acts were amazing. A lot of them were scarily identical to the king himself. So it's just like, well, why'd you go for an actor rather than a tribute act who, I don't know. I don't make the rules, I just watch them and then have my opinion. But I am jealous that I never got the chance to work on it. Jealous of listening to my lecturer's stories, which are always fun. Annoyed that a lot of the actors I worked with have all gone, I worked on Elvis, but I can't tell you. It's like, well then, why mention it? It's just dumb. Like, you signed a confidentiality clause and now you're telling everyone you worked on Elvis, but you can't say anything. Anyway, it's my little ramble. But you know, I'm very curious to see how it is. Like I said before I did the reaction, I'm not a Baz Luhrmann fan, so I am very conflicted on this. I am an Elvis fan, so I'm gonna go see it either way. I just hope that it gives you enough that you don't walk out going, what? Like, what? I could have just used Google, man. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done that with a few biopics where I've ended up going, Google was a lot prettier than you. So I hope that I don't go with this, go down like that. Sorry, my words. I hope I don't say that with this movie. Look, like I said, I've seen Baz Luhrmann's films, so I do trust that he knows what he's doing. It's just a matter of whether I like it or not is a different story. Everyone has their own personal opinion. God, it's one of these things that, you know, because Elvis is so huge and he was in a key point of music. The fact that they've got Richard Nixon, the fact that they've got, it wasn't Richard Nixon, it was Kennedy, right? They've got Martin Luther King. Like, if you didn't know, the song If I Can Dream was inspired by Martin Luther King because Elvis idolized the guy. So seeing these key points in the moment and then seeing how it affects Elvis, that's incredible. Because I don't think anyone has ever spoken about that side. You know, Elvis loved, I'm trying to say this word without being rude, but he loved the black community. He loved people of color. He loved the stories that they could tell, the identity they had. You know, it clearly paints the difference between black man and white man. You know, the guy saying, "You're a famous white boy. If I walk across the street, I'm done." So you can see that because Elvis grew up in that part of history, and you can see where Elvis is like, well, I want to be on this side, and I don't want to be on that side. That side's bad. So he knew, but at the same time, society didn't, because we are dumb, and we don't like a lot of things that are different. And sadly, things haven't changed that much. But you know, just seeing how Elvis was influenced by them, it's incredible. But yeah. And I hope I didn't come off as like rude or insensitive of that. I am educating myself, so I am saying things that I hope are right, but at the same time, I am white and I am dumb. I'd rather insult myself and then someone who I don't know. Anyway, but you know, I'm curious to see how they do this. Clearly the Presley estate's written off this and was gone. Yes, we're excited. It'd be interesting to see if they put Ginger, which was Elvis's last fiance, in this. Yeah, there's so much more to come, and this is only just the first trailer. This movie comes out late June of 2022, so it's going to be very interesting, and you can see that the cinemas are going to be filled with a lot of Elvis fans, a lot of tribute acts. They're going to make a big song and dance out of it. I can just imagine the cinemas doing it now, going, it's Elvis Tribute Week, and they'll just do a whole wine and dine with tribute acts, and then we'll go see the Elvis movie. That's what I can imagine cinemas doing, and if they don't, they've lost a cash grab. Just saying, it's gonna work. Or maybe Surfers Paradise will do it. Because I think the week after this comes out in Australia is when Surfers Paradise does Viva La Surfers, which is their Elvis tribute week. So I think they'll do something big for it. And if they don't, then Surfers Paradise, what the hell? You've just lost a key moment. Anyway, so I'm gonna go now. This is the longest trailer reaction I've ever done, so you can clearly tell I know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, I have to go and get ready for a few things, so I will see you guys in another trailer reaction, and countdown is on for Elvis. See yas.